Hey everybody, it's Kendra. Welcome to my channel if you're new, and welcome back if you've been here before. So here I am with my worm composter. This is my Hot Frog living worm composter. I think that's what it's called. So today my video is going to be a worm update. I'm going to be showing you kind of the status of all my trays and how much compost I've got. I'm going to be doing some maintenance, cleaning a little bit, and also harvesting a bunch of compost to take and put in my parents' garden. Now, I want to preface this whole video by saying I am not a worm expert. On my other worm videos, I got some pretty sassy comments. Like, people are very serious about worms. And I apologize, I'm not a worm expert. I'm just an individual who thinks composting is very important. But I do live in an apartment, so I can't really put a giant compost pile on my balcony, especially with this landlord. They are real bad. The first landlord we had for the first 3 years, they were great. I still wouldn't have done a compost pile with them, but these new ones, oh no, you don't mess with this new one. Anyway, so I think composting is very important. I try to do my part by having my little worm composter inside the apartment. So yeah, I'm not a worm expert, but if I can encourage people to get composting worms, and if I can inspire them and just kind of share my journey with it, that's what I'm here to do. I am not a worm expert. I don't sell worms. I don't do any of that. So yeah, I do want to say that I've had my worms for about 3 years. I think it was 3 years ago in October that I got them. Could have been 2 years, but I'm pretty sure it's 3. And over that 3-year period, I have not managed to kill my worms. So even though some of the comments were like, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. Okay, my worms are fine. They reproduce like crazy. They keep eating what I feed them. So I can't be doing everything wrong. So yeah, thank you for your comments. I really appreciate them. I do learn from them, but you can be kind with comments too. So anywho, let's take a peek inside my worm composter. All right, so here is the lid. Now you can see all of these little red specks kind of along the outside and also like, you know, down the middle. Those are mites. In one of my videos, I thought they were actually worm eggs. No, they are mites. I was definitely wrong on that one. So I'm actually going to be rinsing all of this off today. I do see some like tiny little squiggly things. And they kind of look like little itty bitty tiny translucent worms. And I do not believe that those are actually red wiggler babies. So I'm going to be rinsing this whole thing off in hot water today, just to start reducing the mite population. Now, if you get mites, I know it is because your bin is too wet, but the construction of this bin is designed to keep things very, very wet. You're going to see in a second that the bottom is full of liquid. So anyway, that's just a problem I kind of have to battle. It's not really a big drama, but I do deal with it. If I have mites like all the time, like if this is full of mites, what I like to do is just take the lid off daily, rinse off all the mites, and keep adding newspaper to sort of dry things out. All right, so now this is the first tray. There still is some food in the center, but all the rest of this for about, I'd say about 3 inches down, it's all compost. So it's nice compost. We got loads of worms in here. Hello, little baby. Oh, you're stuck on my spoon. So I think when I harvest today, I'm gonna pull back some of the food and harvest a lot of the compost in this first tray. All right, now the second tray is pretty similar, except there is definitely more food and slightly less compost. So I think with this tray, I'm not gonna harvest anything off of this. I'm gonna keep all the worms in here, keep all the food, let this kind of be like my main tray now. All right, and then finally, this is the bottom tray, and this is mostly all compost. There is still a little bit of food here that has not yet been eaten by the worms, but this is, I mean, this is just a very, very small layer of food on the top. The rest is basically all compost. So I think I'm gonna be harvesting this entire tray to be taking to my parents.
Alrighty folks, voiceover time here. Sorry about the quick change in audio. Anyway, this is the base, and this is completely full of liquid, and I'm going to be dumping this. Now, this is probably the most controversial topic in all of my worm videos. Some people say that I am totally insane for dumping this. Other people say that it's not safe to use, so I should continue to dump it. Now, I always dump this just because it does smell, and I don't want to put this on houseplants and continue to smell that throughout the apartment. So I will be dumping this and washing this out today.
All right, so I've just rinsed out the base. I like to rinse this out just so like when I've got trays done, I can put them back without having to worry about spilling this. But for now, I'm gonna set that to the side so I can harvest some compost. All right, and now I am just going to scoop off all of this compost to take to my parents' house. So this is one way to harvest your compost. This is kind of the lazy way. I do this because I am totally fine with keeping worms, just putting worms into the soil, because I just don't have space. If I don't get rid of worms, I don't have space for them. I do have a fourth tray that I don't have going right now, but I really don't care if I have a fourth tray because it's coming into winter and we're also going to be moving. So I need to take this opportunity to just dump some of these worms into nature before all of that stuff happens. So yeah, if you want to do a really proper harvesting of compost, there are videos out there that I'm sure are way better than anything I could tell you. But what I have done in the past is I've moved the composter to a separate room where I can close the door. And I just have to do that because we have cats. And you do need to leave the lid open. You need to leave the lid open so that it will start to dry out and the worms will burrow down because worms don't like light. I just find this to be a hassle because I don't have a lot of extra space to put this, and yeah, it's like kind of a long process. I don't know. I have never really loved doing that, and I'm totally fine with putting worms into the dirt. So anyway, we're getting down here. This looks pretty good. I will take a chopstick and push the stuff in these holes down into the next tray. I want to get all of this out. Can you see all that? That is what worm eggs look like. All of those little kind of like yellow, orange sesame seed things, those are all worm eggs. Oh my gosh, that tray is so light now. Compost really weighs a lot. Like this, oof, this is super, super heavy. So I think with this tray, I will, I'm gonna try to get as much of this stuff out as I can and completely clean this out. So, and when I say clean out, I mean like put it in the bathtub and like really scrub it with soap and water. So I wanna make sure I get as much of this stuff out as I possibly can. Because I don't want worms or eggs or compost going down the drain if I can help it. All right, so this was the middle tray. This one I'm gonna just not do anything with. So that's just gonna go back on the base. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with this tray. Move aside the food. This was actually rice. I've never given worms rice before. I think it's okay. I did do a little research. I had some brown rice that was smelling really funky. It was super old, so I thought, you know what, maybe the worms will eat it. So anyway, I'm just gonna harvest a bunch of the compost on this one. I mean, this thing is crawling with worms. So even if I'm not like the best worm caretaker out there, I'm not doing everything completely wrong, because these worms are there are loads of worms in here. And actually just working in this top tray, I can really tell the difference in the moisture content. Like being able to scoop out the compost in the bottom tray was very difficult. It was very damp, it was very compact. And here I can really tell like, wow, this is not, it's not that compact, because obviously all the moisture was draining down. So the top tray actually feels not dry, but way drier than the bottom tray. Now for food, what do I usually feed the worms? I usually just give them a lot of juice pulp. Like I make vegetable juice every day. I make celery juice every day. Sometimes I'll do fruit. Sometimes I'll do a mix. But I always have some type of pulp every day. So I always feed them that. I try to give them newspaper like, you know, once a week or so. Gosh, there are so many worms in here. It is crazy. If there are any parents out there who are like, I mean, obviously I don't think we're having science projects now with coronavirus and all the schools being closed, but man, if you ever need like a really cool science project in the future for your kids, I just think this type of thing would be fascinating. Composting worms, like how, like just compost in general, how that works. That'd be so interesting. And yes, I am getting some of the food in there. That's totally fine. That will just, you know, continue to be eaten by the worms, and it'll just naturally break down in the garden. We've probably got at least 3 gallons of compost in there. That's wild. Now, again, I did not do a garden this season, so that's probably why, like that's obviously why I have so much compost, because this is actually the first time I've harvested compost in a very long time. I don't remember the last time I harvested. Oh, my no worms, I'm taking some of your friends far, far away. You didn't get to say goodbye, I'm sorry. So I think this is about everything I'm going to harvest from this tray. So what I'm gonna do is put some newspaper in there. I'm gonna get this slightly damp. Just crumple up some newspaper, put that in there, so that'll be kind of a nice bed for the worms. I think I'll do a couple damp and a couple dry. And then I also did have a little bit of pulp for making celery juice this morning and some celery. I'm just gonna dump that in this one as well. And you know, I think I changed my mind. I think I actually am gonna take a little bit off of this bucket because this is just crazy. I need to kind of reduce the worm population a little bit just because I'm gonna have a long fall and winter. Look at that, isn't that wild? That right there, those are all worms. Isn't that crazy? Oh, so neat. Ooh, I lost my chopstick. Ooh, there it is, okay. My gosh, these worms, this is just insane. So many of these guys, wow. All right, I think that's about good. Now I just have to make sure I can get this bucket home without having any accidents. So I'm just gonna kind of smush this all down and then add some more newspaper to this side too. Just kind of dry things out a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna put that on. Wow, these 2 trays are so light now. This is great. All right, now I just need to rinse off that top tray and we're good to go. All right, so there you go. The lid is nice and clean and we are good to go. In case you've never actually seen this composter, this is what it looks like. And I do have 2 extra trays. Obviously I did have one on before, but I do have a 4th one as well. So this thing can get really high. I think you could probably even put 5 or 6 trays total in this. But after 5 or 6, I feel like it might get a little bit tippy. All right, so there you go. That is kind of what I do for maintenance for the worms. Every couple weeks I check if there is liquid down below just so it doesn't start to overflow, and then I will dump that. I feed the worms probably like, I don't know, a couple times a week, 2-3 times a week, depending on how much stuff I have. If I do have a lot of mites, I will rinse the lid off every day. Now, another issue that I have encountered with worms, I don't know if they're fruit flies or a different type of fly. No, actually, they were like fungus gnats. I have a very excited kitten behind me. She's so excited. You love the worms, don't you? Yes, you do. You want to show everybody your toy? Okay, go. Oh, it's such a good jump. I did have an issue with fungus gnats last year. Like, it was terrible. I had so many of these things flying out of this. So one thing I researched, and it worked great, is to use diatomaceous earth. So it's kind of like really finely ground up like fossils, I think. And I researched this and found that it was totally safe for worms, and that worm farmers do this as well. So I sprinkled in a bunch of diatomaceous earth, and that killed the fruit flies. So that really took care of that problem, which was probably 9 months ago. Right now, I am dealing with a small fruit fly problem. So one of these days, I probably will add a little bit more diatomaceous earth to this. to just kill those. Apparently it does not harm the worms. So diatomaceous earth, the way it works is like, it's microscopically, it's very, very sharp. So it kind of cuts the exoskeleton of bugs, kills them. But apparently it doesn't hurt the worms. So I have done that in the past, and that really worked very well for this. So anyway, I hope you found that interesting. I hope you found that helpful. And I hope that for the worm experts out there, I'm doing something correctly. Because like I said, I mean, I got a whole bucket of worms here, worms and compost. I think I'm doing something kind of okay. So if you guys do keep worms, I would love to hear about what you do. I do really like this composter. I bought this at Costco, but then I did get extra trays off of Amazon. I really like it, but it definitely holds in the moisture. I think once I finally am in a house, I will continue to use this, but I also do want to make my own with like big plastic storage totes, just because I think that would hold a lot more worms and a lot more compost. But anyway, if you guys are worm people, I'd love to know all about what you're doing. So anyway, have a fabulous weekend. Hope you guys are doing great. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.